All right, I'm going to get started. Welcome, everybody. My name's Andy Surratt. I'm a PM on the Application Virtualization team. And I'm here and proud to present Application Virtualization 5.0 and Office Better Together. All right, so today what we're going to be talking about is some key AppV technologies we added with AppV 5.0. I'm going to talk about some of it briefly because I believe a lot of you have seen the new stuff that AppV is giving you. Matthijs earlier presented on AppV coexistence and migration, and he talked about it. So we'll briefly touch upon that. We're also going to talk about how the Office deployment tool will be able to create Office 365 AppV packages really simply and easy for you. And finally, I'm going to demonstrate how to sequence Office 2010 and deploy it on AppV 5.0. All right, some key takeaways for today. First and foremost is Office 365 AppV package is built using that Office deployment toolkit. We no longer need the sequencer. We're going to show you how easy it is to build this package using the toolkit. And last but not least, Office 2010 is now supported by AppV SP1. We heard feedback from all of you, our customers, that we really needed AppV to support Office 2010 in 5.0, just like it did in AppV 4.6, and we are now going to be doing that. All right, so let's talk about the history of AppV in Office. So in 2006, a company called Softricity, based in Boston, Massachusetts, was acquired by Microsoft. And thus the relationship with Microsoft, AppV, and Office began. In the early days, it was really difficult to sequence Office. And so articles were placed with recipes and steps on how you could accomplish that. And as the relationship grew, the recipes became better. And then we also started to give you deployment kits and then also package accelerators. So each iteration, it became easier and easier to create an Office AppV package. And so today I'm going to show you the easiest that you've ever seen, Office 365. I'm also going to show you how easy Office 2010 is in AppV 5.0. It's actually easier than it was in 4.6, and it deploys much simpler. All right, so let's talk a little bit about AppV 5.0. For those of you that aren't familiar with it, when we developed AppV 5.0, we really thought about, hey, what are the pillars that we're going to make sure we design around? First and foremost was an integrated platform. We really wanted our virtual applications to work like natively installed applications. And we're actually moving this forward as we go into AppV next. We're increasing the support of virtual apps to work like native apps. Things like shell extensions are going to be part of that, the right click. And so we really are dedicated to this, and we're going to continue to improve in this area. Flexible virtualization. So it's one thing to have a virtual app isolated and work on the OS, but it's another thing for that app to be able to work with other virtual apps or with other native apps. And so we really worked hard to make sure that multiple AppV virtual apps could work in the same virtual environment. We wanted high integration, and I'm going to show you some of that today. And finally, powerful management. So we moved to web-based management interfaces. We no longer have the snap-ins. And you're going to see this a lot today, but we use PowerShell now throughout. PowerShell is a standard, and on our sequencer, server, and client, you can utilize PowerShell to do everything that you need for scripting. All right, so let's talk about some of the changes between AppV 4.6 and AppV 5.0. So in AppV 4.6, we had the Q drive. And we are very happy to say that we no longer need a dedicated letter for AppV 5.0. We had a 4 gigabyte package limit. In AppV 5.0, there's no package limit at all. So this really allows you to get some of those bigger applications that you've wanted to sequence in the past virtualized. So we had isolated from local applications. With virtual application extensions, they are now have more integration than we ever have. And that really comes into play with Office. So Office has always been a little bit more integrated, but what you're going to see with App v5.0 is true integration. The Office 365 package has full integration, just like if you deployed Office 2013 with an MSI. All right. We used to have a dynamic suite composition to share middleware. We now have virtual application connection, or we call it connection groups. And what this does is it allows you to group virtual applications into one single virtual environment so that they can talk to each other like they would if they were natively installed. And so I'll be showing you a demo of how that works with Office momentarily. We've improved. We had these shared cache for VDI and RDS. And so now we have a shared content store. And what's really nice about the shared content store is to update it, you use the same exact process you update the packages on the client. So there's no separate process. We heard there was difficulty in updating packages with the read-only shared cache. And so now the shared content store takes all those issues away. It's really simple and easy to use. And I mentioned this earlier, but we had limited command line scripting in 4.6, and now we're going to use PowerShell. So you can use PowerShell on that sequencer, the client, and the server. All right. And we have that web-based management console. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Office. There is some confusion out there about Office 365 and Office 2013. Or at least that's what we're hearing from customers. And even I was a little confused for quite a while until we really dug in and wanted to share with our customers exactly what the difference is. So Office 2013 is kind of the standard MSI deployment of Office that we're all used to. Office 365 is the same functionality. It's the same bits. It's just deployed differently. So Office 365 is deployed using click to run. You can think of click to run as kind of a variation of how virtual apps stream, right? And so it's the same bits they're streaming. And so the functionality for your users are exactly the same. There's no difference. The big difference, and I understand it's a pain point for our customers, our AppV customers, is that with the previous versions of Office, you could use volume licensing. And with Office 365, we've gone to a subscription model. So first, I can let you know we've heard a lot of feedback. We understand that that is a problem. And we have taken that back, and we're really working to try to make that the best possible solution we can. But yeah, so that's the difference between the two. So same functionality. If you put your user in front of it, it's going to look and act exactly the same. They're just different deployment methods and different licensing. All right. So what we did with the simplified Office 365 AppV package lifecycle is that it's easy, really easy to build an AppV package. This is going to be the easiest AppV package you've ever created. There is no sequencing required. So for those of you, how many of you have sequenced before here? A couple of you? OK. So for those of you who've sequenced before, you're going to know that sometimes it's easy, sometimes it can be difficult. Office is a robust application suite, and it can have its difficulties. Well, what I'm going to show you is how easy it now is. No sequencing required. We also don't need a deployment kit. So in the past, you actually had to install the deployment kit on every single client machine that you're going to deploy your Office package to. That's no longer a requirement. It's all handled with this AppV Office 365 package. Okay. It's really easy to upgrade and patch. So what we do is you're going to go back to this Office deployment tool that I'm going to show you, and you're just going to download new bits, and you're going to be able to upgrade through that process. Again, no sequencer required at all. All right, so the other big thing is that even though we don't sequence this package works like any other AppV package. And one of the things with Office 365 is it does have limited side-by-side deployment with Office 2010. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about fully integrated and non-integrated. But if you had a fully integrated Office 365 package, it can work side-by-side with a non-integrated Office 2010 package. All right? One of the big benefits is it can be used in connection groups, and I'm actually going to demo that today. So you can have your big Office suite as one package, and then if you have add-ins or other applications that you want to work with that Office suite, you can use a connection group to connect them. You'll get the same functionality that you're used to if the Office was natively installed. All right. So with the add-ins, what you'll do is you'll actually sequence them, create a virtual application package for those, and then use that connection group. And I'm going to demo that in a little bit. All right. And so this AppV package, because it is just like any other AppV package, it works with our full AppV infrastructure, and it also works with Config Manager 2012 SP1. Along with any other solutions you may be using, if you're using PowerShell to distribute it, that works as well. Okay. And last but not least, you can configure using dynamic deployment configuration. So dynamic deployment configuration is kind of the enhanced or future version of changing your OSD files. And this is really where you can make changes to how the package works without having to go and actually change the package. And I'm going to show you how that works. And it really allows you to have one kind of golden package and make the changes that you need. All right? So with the Office 365 package, we have better integration with Windows. As I mentioned, that was one of our pillars, and with Office 365, we succeeded. It's going to work just like your MSI installed Office. Your shortcuts will work the same, your FTAs. We're actually going to have full integrated Windows search with your Office. SharePoint integration that works with no issues. We have full shell extension support. So this AppV or Office AppV package is going to work just like an MSI installed package. All right, so how do I make an Office 365 package? Well, first you're going to start with an Office deployment tool. So you can go onto the web and you can download this deployment tool from Microsoft Download Center. Right? Once you download that, you're going to run a command, and it's actually going to download all of the click-to-run packages. All right, so this is the bits. This is Office. It will download it for you so that it's there on the machine. And finally, we're going to run the last thing is running the deployment tool to actually create the Office package. All right, so it's really 3 steps. It's simple and straightforward. All right, so let's actually show that right now. Sorry. Let me connect. All right. So I'm on a machine here. Oh, sorry about that. And on this machine, I've already downloaded that Office deployment kit. Now, this machine is not connected to the internet, so I've had to download things in advance. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys the heads up of that. All right. So let's look at the Office deployment kit. Basically, it's 2 files. It's a setup.exe and it's a configuration file. That's it. You download that, and you're ready to go and start building your Office package. Right? So the configuration file is an XML file, and this is basically how we tell the Office deployment kit what we want to download and what type of Office package we want to build and where we want to put it. So you can see all we define is the source path, and this is basically where we're going to pull down those bits of Office and store them. We say the type of Office edition we want, so is it 32-bit or is it 64-bit, the product ID, and a language. We also have the option of setting up the logging, so we can, if there's any issues, which we really haven't seen many with this, but if there are any, you can go to the logs and figure out just what happened. All right. So as I mentioned, I've done, in the interest of time, I've pre-downloaded some of our bits. And so for this example, we pre-downloaded those Office bits. And so I did this by running that setup.exe setting our download flag, okay, and then giving it that configuration XML file. That's it. This is telling the Office Deployment Kit to say, hey, go download the latest bits to this location. All right, and so let's take a look once it's downloaded of what it looks like. All right. So this is it. This is Office. It's a couple of cab files. And if we click in here, a couple of DAT files. This is the full Office suite. And we're going to use the deployment toolkit to actually create an AppV package from this. So we rerun that script, or that setup.exe, and this time we set up our packager flag. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take those bits and create an Office package. We use that same configuration XML, and the only addition here, other than that packager flag, is an output. Where are we going to place this AppV package? And so in this example, it's at package out. So here we go. We have 3 files here. We have our Office Pro Plus AppV package. We have a deployment configuration file, and we have a user configuration file. So for those of you that have sequenced with AppV 5.0, this is exactly what an AppV package looks like when it comes out of our sequencer. So that was it. That's all you have to do. I know I skipped a couple of the download parts, but here we go. So it is that simple and easy. All right, so let's switch back over to here. All right, again, so running the Office deployment tool. Download the click to run applications using that setup.exe with the download flag, and then build your Office package using the setup.exe with the packager flag. Simple and straightforward. We also have the logs available for you. Again, this is going to be the easiest package you ever create for Office. I mean, for AppV. And for Office, for that matter. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take that package and actually deploy it. And I'm going to show you how that works. And we're also going to customize it. And because I, for one, don't want to use MS Access, or in my particular environment, MS Access isn't really utilized by everyone, so I'm going to show you how we can turn that off. Okay? So let's switch. Okay. All right, so we're back to that package folder, and you can see we have the AppV package, a deployment config, and a user config. So in this particular case, I don't want that MS Access to show up for my users. Right? So I'm going to show you how you can use the deployment config to do that. Just turn it off. Right? So we're going to open to edit it. All right? And so this is just a simple XML file, and I can make the changes here. All right, so I'm going to go to the bottom because I know that MS Access is towards the bottom, and I'm looking for the application ID for MS Access, because that is where I can turn it on or off. All right. Just typing in MS Access. We'll go to find. Oh, got to put the prompt at the bottom, and there we go. All right, so you can see here's the application ID, and there's MS Access, and the flag is set to enabled true. For this particular example, I'm going to turn it to enabled false. I don't want MS Access in my package. Okay. One of the other things I'm going to do is I want Word to be a shortcut on the desktop. So we're going to pull in and create it. We're going to add this shortcut here so that Word's on the desktop. I have a lot of users that use that, so and they prefer it there. All right, so for here, I can just go to Shortcuts. We're going to add it to the next section. We're going to paste that in, and you can see WinWord's the target. It's going to be on our desktop. And now I'm ready to save this file. All right. It's simple and easy. That's it. Now my package, which we had created, has a deployment file, and we're going to go and add that to the machine. So for this demo, I'm going to do it using PowerShell. And that's just one of the many methods you can use. You could use our server. You could use SSCM 2012, etc. So PowerShell is really easy to use. You have tab completion. And so I'm going to add this package. So let's go back to the package. I'll get the path. Oh. Package out, app packages. All right. So I'm going to grab the path here. I like to use the shift and then right-click to copy his path. All right. And when I right-click, the path is there. I'm going to put in that dynamic deployment. So when I add a package, I can actually add a dynamic deployment configuration file. So we're going to add the one that I just saved. All right. There we go. So this is adding the package. It's adding the deployment configuration. And then we're going to publish this package or entitle it to the user. All right. And this is one of the key steps with Office. We need to publish this globally. And the reason we need to publish this globally is we need to get that full integration. Office has a lot of integration points. A lot of them are located under HKLM. And so to get those registry entries and to get that integration, we need this to be published globally. If you do not publish globally, a lot of the features in Office will not work properly. All right, so I'm now publishing this package. And so what we're going to see is we're going to see a shortcut show up on the desktop. We're going to see Office available to all of our users. And we are not going to see MS Access. Oh. This is a great error message. I actually failed to, there's a script that's part of this package, and I failed to enable it, so let's do that right now. All right, so I'm going to set my AppV client configuration, enable package scripts to 1. Okay. And then if I use the up key, this is what I love with PowerShell, I can just get that script again. And now we can publish the Office package. All right, one of the nice things about dynamic deployment configurations and the user configurations is that you don't need to change the package itself. So if you remember in AppV 4.6, you had to actually make changes to that package. You had to go into the OSD files. So you had to have different variations of the package. Whereas with the deployment config and a user config, you have the same single package, and then you just apply those policy files. Excuse me. All right, so Word showed up there on our desktop. And let's go see. When I type, you can see Word is available. Excuse me. Excel is available. But when I type access, not there. Okay? So that just shows you the power of those deployment configuration. Really easy to change, very powerful. I can control what apps show up for my users. All right. So let's start Word. So you see that the streaming block is at the bottom right-hand corner. This is predefined by Office. And this is just letting you know that the primary feature block is loading. And here launches Word. Okay? Now this is going to tell me I'm not on the internet, which I know. It's going to want me to opt in, which I'll say no thanks because I'm not on the internet. And it will walk me through the standard. This is the first time we're running. In other applications, you do have the ability on the sequencer to change this first launch. With Office 365, you do have to go through it. For your users have to go through it as if it was a native install. All right? But that's only on first launch. And so here you can see Office is loaded, or Word is loaded, and it's ready to be used. It was as simple as that. Okay. So let's move on. All right, so customizing Office 365 App V package. You can choose the components for deployment. I decided I didn't want MS Access as part of that package. So I used my deployment configuration file to turn off MS Access. I also wanted a shortcut available for Word, so I was able to add that to that deployment config. So using the deployment config, I'm able to change how the Office package works. You can also manage Office OS integration points. I didn't go into that too far. I mean, we showed shortcuts, but there are other items in that configuration file that you can change. All right, so for my next demo, I am going to show you that same Office 365 package, but this time I'm going to have an add-in. I need Semblio as my add-in. And I'm going to show you how we can create a connection group to have Semblio and Office work in the same virtual environment so that they can talk and be integrated. Okay. All right, so here is our package. It's been already published. Okay. Oops. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you we have a configuration file for our connection group. All right. So here you can see we have our Semblio add-in package, all right? So you can see the deployment config, the AppV package file. And we also have this here, and this is called CG. It's for connection group. And this is the connection group descriptor file. So creating this XML descriptor file is going to allow me to create that shared virtual environment. So let's take a look at this. All right. So within the connection group, it's basically you're going to name the virtual application packages that you want to be part of that connection group. Now, there's one part of this that's important, and that is the order that you list your applications. What we do, or what the client does, is when it's trying to create the virtual environment, it's actually going to look to this order to resolve conflicts. So if there's two files, or two of the same files in both packages, the client will then take the file from the highest level application. And again, this is to avoid conflicts and know which one that we have to use. All right? So this is just that XML descriptor file, and we're going to use this to add Semblio. Before we go, there is one other thing we need to make sure. Some of the settings need to be the same in the configurations. And for example, I know that virtual objects need to be the exact same. If they're not, we're going to get an error message with PowerShell that tells us that they're not the same. All right? So I can simply change the Semblio one just like I was changing things with the Office package. So I'm going to go and open my dynamic deployment configuration again. And this time I'm going to search for virtual object. just object. All right, so there's our objects. So you can see objects enabled is set to true. I know that this is set to false for our Office package. I can show you that. All right. Hold on a sec. All right. So you can see here, it's set to false on the Office deployment config. So we want to make sure that they're the same. Okay? So we move back to the Semblio add-in, and I change this to false. All right. I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to add the Semblio package to the machine, very similar to how I added the Office package. So add appv client package. Oops. We're going to copy his path, right-click that. Oh. I need the space. All right, again, we're going to add the deployment configuration. And the reason why is because we made a change to the virtual object. All right. And we'll get that. And I will shift right-click to get the deployment configuration, copies path. Okay. And we are going to publish this globally. Now, the Semblio add-in does not need to be published globally on its own, but because this is going to be part of a virtual connection group, it needs to be published the same way as everything else. And because it's with Office, and Office requires to be published globally, this needs to be published globally. All right. So there we go. Semblio is a lot smaller package, so it was published right away. All right. So now that we have Office published and Semblio published, they do exist on their own. We want to create that shared virtual environment, so we need to create that connection group. And so we can do that again through PowerShell. All right. So add appv connection group, and we're going to go back, and we're going to grab that connection group descriptor file. And we are going to enable this. Now, enabling a connection group is similar to publishing a package. And we have to do this globally, again. So for a connection group, if all of the packages are published globally, then the entire connection group has to be published globally. All right. So we just enabled our connection group. And so now I'm going to launch Word. So now that Word is part of a virtual connection group, it's actually going through its first launch again. So one of the things we recommend is if you are going to use an application or a big suite like Office and know it's going to be part of a connection group, we recommend creating a connection group right from the get-go. That way it doesn't have its own, you don't lose any state, because it will be maintained as part of that connection group moving forward. And you can have a connection group of just one package to start. We do allow that. So I'm going to go through this first launch again. No, thank you. And I'm good with the demo. But we'll watch. All right. And now you can see there's a new tab at the top here called Academic. And when I click it, you can see Send to Semblio. So these are two individual virtual packages sharing a virtual environment, so they have tight integration. They work just as if I installed them natively. And that is how we add a connection group, all right, and how we can use Office with add-ins. All right, so one of the things we didn't show you is like how do you create an add-in for Office? So I didn't do a demo, but I can tell you what you do is you actually install Click to Run on your sequencing machine, right? On a clean one because that is our preferred method, right? And then when you have that there, you go through the normal process of sequencing. It's going to monitor the installation, and it's going to build an AppV package for that add-in. Once you have that add-in, you can go through the steps you just saw today. You're then going to deploy the two packages globally. As I mentioned, for Office, you have to deploy globally to get that full integration. With the add-in package, you have to deploy globally because it's going to be part of a connection group with Office. Okay? And when you create a connection group, you're going to create a shared virtual environment. So what those two virtual applications are going to act as if they are together. All right. So that kind of goes through the life cycle of the Office 365 package, how we can build it, how we can deploy it. So let's talk quickly about how we can upgrade it. It's really easy. We don't need to use a sequencer, which I think is a great improvement over the past having to use that. You just download the updated Office Click to Run files using the Office deployment tool, the same way I did earlier in the demo. You then run the same exact script, and what will happen is the Office deployment toolkit will just get the latest bits. It will create a brand new package for you, but of the same lineage. So it will just be a new version of that package you can send out to your users. They will have no difference that their new package has arrived. So all the state will remain. Okay. So a couple of resources. Here's some details on the Office deployment toolkit. And this is where you can download it. All right. Also, there's this great website by the Office folks called Garage. They can answer questions. They have insight on what you can do. I really recommend if you're planning to deploy Office to check it out. All right. So that's how we created Office 365, which is basically Office 2013 on AppV. So let's talk about Office 2010. How do we do 2010 on AppV? First and foremost, it is now supported as part of our SP1, which came out this spring. And also, this really came about from feedback. So we really appreciate any feedback our customers give. It lets us plot a course and really make the right choices so that we're giving you a product that you really want and can utilize. And so that's really what happened with Office 2010. People said, hey, we need that. AppV, please, we need an Office 2010 package. And so for SP1, we were able to create that. And not only did we create one, but we made a better story around it. All right? So the Office 2010 AppV package is built using a deployment and sequencing kit. I'm going to show you how that works momentarily. The Office 2010 package has the same licensing that it does on 4.6, so there's no changes there. So with the Office 365 package, you do have the subscription model, but with the Office 2010, no worries about that. You have the same licensing you're used to. We can utilize the deployment configuration files that you saw earlier with Office 365. So they work the exact same way with Office 2010, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. And just like Office 365 AppV package, you really need to publish this globally to get the full integrated functionality that your users are going to want. All right, so let's do a demo about how we sequence and then deploy Office 365. All right, so now I'm on a sequencing machine, and I'm ready to sequence Office 2010. So my first thing I'm going to do is download the sequencing kit and the deployment kit. So you can see there are two self-extracting EXEs right here. And I've already run them, and you can see what they've created. Essentially, Office 2010 and the deployment kit and the sequencing kit. All right, you're going to be seeing these as I go forward, because what we need to do is we need to set up the sequencer with the deployment kit so that we can actually pick up and detect those during monitoring. Then when we're going through the sequencing, we're going to lay down the sequencing kit. And so the sequencing kit is all of that integration goodness. And we also want that laid down on the sequencing machine so the sequencer can monitor it and pick it up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually go and kind of reverse the steps. So now that it's on the baseline sequencing, we need to make sure it's part of the package so that when it gets to the client, it can be installed there. And that's the best part. Where Office 2010 on 4.6 needed a deployment kit to be pre-installed on every client, we're actually going to embed it in every package. So you don't need to worry about it. It's going to be there. You can just send out the one AppV package to your users, and everything that's needed is going to be part of that package. Okay? All right, so you can see here's my script. All right, and the first step, as I mentioned, is we're going to lay down that deployment kit for Office. And the deployment kit, some people might call it the licensing kit. Right? And so I can do this by running the MSI exec for Office Virtualization MSI. And you're actually going to see me do this later on as well. And then this is key. The licensing is pro plus equals 1. So we're going to lay it down on this machine so that the sequencer is aware of it. And then later on, I'm going to actually add it to the package. So keep an eye out for that. Oops. Here we go. And so this is going to install the deployment kit for AppV, lay down all those bits. That was weird. What happened there? Okay. So it's going to lay down all those bits. And so that when I sequence, it's going to pick it up, and it's going to be able to put it in the package and be aware. So when the package is running on the client, it knows where that information is. All right. So now we're ready to launch our sequencer. All right. So first and foremost, I'm launching my sequencer as an admin. And so I'm going to go and create this Office 2010 package. Now, one of the things that I know I need to do is I need to set my exclusions. So for those of you who have sequenced before, you are familiar with this. All right? And we actually have them listed for you. And so we want to add the exclusions. And what the exclusions do is it tells the sequencer, hey, whatever information is put in this place, do not pick it up. Leave it alone. That way, it will not get in the package. And the reason why we don't want it to get in the package is because licensing will be broken if it is. So if you're testing this and your licensing doesn't seem to be working, I would confirm that you put the exclusions on there. All right. So now that I have my exclusions, I'm ready to create my package. All right, so I have two options when creating a package. I can create just a default package, or I can create a package using a package accelerator. For today's demo, I'm going to create a package. I'm actually going to show you the hard way to create an Office 2010 package, the manual way, but it's pretty easy, so that's why I want to show you. Excuse me. We do have a package accelerator available for Office 2010. That's going to make your job so much easier. And what the package accelerator is going to do is when I'm installing the sequencing kit and the deployment kit, it's actually going to take care of that for you. All right, so that's the easier path. But again, I feel the regular path is pretty straightforward and easy, so I wanted to show you that. All right, so we are presented with our standard warning when sequencing. It says other applications are running, and pending restart operation detected. So we actually want to add one here. I need Windows Search to be running. We mentioned earlier that Windows Search can work for Outlook, and so we want the sequencer to be aware of that, and so we need to start it. Okay, so now I'm back on my sequencer. I can refresh it. It's telling me other applications are open, so I'm going to close all other applications. All right, so now that I've closed all the applications, I have 2 warnings, and actually these are okay. The Windows Search is active, yes, I know. In this particular case for Office 2010, that's okay. And then pending restart operations detected. So when I installed the deployment kit right at the beginning, it actually needs to reboot, and that's what it's coming from. But for the sequencing, you actually don't have to worry about it. It's okay that it's there. So for this particular Office 2010 package, these 2 warnings are okay to move ahead with. All right, we're going to do a standard application. All right, and we're going to find the installer. So the installer can be located in that one of those folders I showed you when we started. Let's see if it's So if you remember, we had this Office 2010 professional file here, and this is all of Office, and we can grab the setup.exe, and we're going to open it. We can move to the next one. All right, now we're going to call what are we going to call our virtual application? So we're going to call the package Office 2010. And this is an important part. So the primary virtual application directory. So this is, where is this application going to get installed? Where should the sequencer monitor this application getting installed? Right? So for this particular example, we're going to do it in C Office 2010. Now, because of the deployment kit is it doesn't allow spaces, I have to push these together. All right? And once I'm done, I just hit next. So this is going to say the installer for Office is going to start up. All right? I'm going to accept the terms, continue, and I'm actually going to go to customize. Now, one of the things I want to do is I want all of Office applications to run. The reason why I'm setting this is, as I showed you with Office 365, we can use the deployment configuration file to actually turn on or off applications that are part of the Office suite. It's much easier to create one Office package and use deployment configurations to change it than to create a bunch of Office packages that you have to maintain. All right? So we're going to go through that. And then we're going to say the default file location, we're going to use that primary virtual directory again. So we told the sequencer where to look, and now we're going to tell the installer where to save. All right, so this is going to go through the installation process, and in the interest of time, I'm actually going to jump ahead here. All right. All right, so what's happened is the installer went through, and the sequencer was monitoring that installer, picking up the bits, et cetera. And so it actually rebooted after the installer was through, and the sequencer will kick off and be where you need to be. So you don't have to start the sequencer again after the reboot. You're all set here. All right, so there's a couple things we need to do still while it's monitoring. And that is, we need to lay down that sequencing kit that I talked to you guys about. So we're going to run CMD. Okay. So I'm going to change the directory to where my sequencing kit is. Office demo. And we're going to run that MSI exec again. All right, and we have to say where that package root, which is that virtual directory we were using. All right, and that's Office 2010. All right. So what's going to happen here is the sequencer kit is going to install its bits. Again, this is all of the integration goodness that we want so that our end users have all that functionality. So as we install it now, the sequencer is aware of it. It will include those in the package when we send it out. All right, so that's what we needed to do. We did the deployment kit and we did the sequencer kit on laying the bits down on the sequencer to make the sequencer aware. Now we're ready to get things and put them in the actual package so that they can be utilized on the client. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put the deployment kit into the package. And I do this by going to C, Office Sequencing Demo. There we go, space. All right. And I'm going to go to Office, you can see here, Virt. So this is our deployment kit. This is what handles the licensing of the package. And as I mentioned earlier, you used to have to install this on all your clients before you deployed the Office package. Now we're going to put it right in the Office package. So I'm going to copy this. All right, so this is being copied from the location that it was stored when I downloaded that sequencing and deployment kit. And now I'm going to go to the location of the actual package. And by doing this, now the sequencer will know that it's there, and it will add it to the package. All right, you'll notice there's two folders, x64 and x86. So when creating this Office package, you need to download the correct bitness when you're downloading it. In my example, I'm going to be using x64. But let's say you wanted to do one for both x64 and a 32-bit system. If you were going to do that, you would download both kits, and you'd actually take that off-virt file that I just copied, and you'd copy it to the corresponding x64 or x86 machine folder. The key thing here, though, is if you're going to do that, you have to sequence on on a 32-bit machine. All right. So again, I'm putting this here in the package location so that when we send this package down to our clients, it will be there. And now I'm done, so I can finish installation, and it's going to collect all those changes. All right, so we're going to skip ahead again. Oops. And we are now full screen. All right. So the sequencer collected all of those changes, including the deployment kit we laid down, the sequencing kit with the integration type information that was laid down, the location of the deployment kit inside the package, right? And then it's saved. And so now I'm at the last point where I can make my last changes to my package. And so we are going to add a script here. And what this script is going to do is actually run all that integration so that when you get to the client, it's going to be run for you. All right, so we're going to add. We are going to browse to again, that sequencing kit. And we're going to add the integrator. And we're going to hit OK. So when this package gets to the client, it's going to integrate all those bits. And so this is going to be run. And the last step of creating this package is going to be to update the manifest. So the manifest is part of the package. It's basically its DNA. And we need to say, hey, this package is using this particular license. And if you notice, I'm putting the exact same license that we put at the very beginning of the demo. And by doing this now, all I need to deploy is the appv package. Okay? And then that's it. I close this, and I can save my package. So let's jump to the client where I'm going to deploy this. All right, so we're on the client. I want to show you guys the package. Here it is. So this is the package. It looks very similar to the Office 365 package. We have the Office 2010 appv file. We have a deployment configuration, and we have a user configuration. And so you can use this like any other appv package now that it's created. So we're going to go ahead and add this package. So this package has a script. So let's make sure scripting is enabled. Okay. If we look here, enable package scripts is set to 1, so we're all set. You only have to enable it once on the client. It's not for every single package. And then we're going to follow the same steps we did in the past. We're going to add appv client package using PowerShell. We're going to get this package path. All right, we're going to publish this, and we're going to make sure it's global. Again, publishing globally will make sure we get all that good integration points. All right, and now this is publishing. Notice I didn't deploy a deployment kit, so that's all part of the package. I'm actually, I didn't need to do that, which is really a huge step. We heard that that was, kind of a logistics headache for a lot of you. And so we removed the need for that. It's all contained within that one appv package. So as this goes, let's see. So this is just publishing now. Let's take a look at some of the services, see if they've started. All right. So a couple services got installed. We have Office software protection. And what this is basically is the licensing. So before you had to send that down on its own, now it's part of the package. You don't have to worry about it at all. All right. And now that Office is published, let's launch it. Okay, there's Office 2010. It does its first launch. And we have our full Office suite deployed, sequenced, no problem. All right. As I said, I went the hard path. We have package accelerators available to go the easy path for you. But even the hard path is much easier than sequencing Office 2010 has ever been. All right. So here are the resources for Office 2010. You can go to find detailed instructions here at this link. You can go here to find the accelerators for those at those links. As I mentioned, that's the easiest way to do this. All right. We have a couple of other sessions. I hope some of you were able to attend early on. We had our coexistence and migration demo. But we have some other MDOP presentations coming up later in the week, so check those out. A couple of Windows track sources that you can also take a look at for more information. Additional resources can be found here. All right. Please fill out your evaluation. We really encourage and love to get feedback from you guys. I'm going to be at the demo booth a lot this week, along with some of my partners from AppV. If you have any questions, please stop by. We love to talk about it because we want to help you guys get up and running with AppV as soon as we can. All right? Thank you so much.